Welcome to True Tall Tales, the podcast where real life stories take center stage. I'm your host, Sunny Boy, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to our next guest, a master storyteller and a true friend. He's the life of the party, always ready with the wild tale that keeps everyone entertained. From mistaking a washing machine for a hit song to countless other adventures, he never fails to amaze. Join me in welcoming the one and only Dan the Man.
You're too kind. Oh, the good old washing machine remix.
Welcome to the show, Danny. In context for the listeners, I had a party at Bondi Beach when I used to live there, and we had a couple of drinks. And Dan loves dance music, and he was in the kitchen, and he was just like, "What is this song? This is good." And I was like, "Damn, there is no song. That's the washing machine on spin drive," because it was a really old washing machine. So just from that explanation, that's the type of guy that we're interviewing today that puts many laughs on people's faces. Dan, before we start with your true tall tale, and thank you for joining the show, I'm just going to do a little quick true tall tale for the listeners and yourself of something that you remember. When I used to work at Coca-Cola back in the day in my early 20s, as you would know, anyone that knows me, I have a very loud sneeze, like really, really loud, like Achoo! Cut the story short, which never happened to me. There was a lady, I used to work at Coca-Cola, that's where it was, that just hated me for some reason, or hated my sneeze. And every time I sneeze, covering my mouth or doing it inside my shirt or jumper or a tissue, mind you, I would sneeze and she would yell out in the office, at head office at Coca-Cola, and go, "Unnecessary." Do you remember that? And I used to
That is amazing. I used to love your stories when you would come home from that place.
Oh, God.
That is so good. Unnecessary.
Yeah, who does that? Like every time I sneeze, you'd hear this like 45-year-old woman go, "Unnecessary." Well, clearly it's necessary. I need to sneeze. But anyway, that's my little true tall tale. Dan, take the mic and tell me your story.
That is phenomenal. Well, I'm actually going back into history a fair way now. So when I was 18, I don't know if I've told you this story. Did I tell you the story about how I learned not to lose my passport?
No, but that's hilarious because anyone that knows Dan, I'm not even going to start. I could just go to it. I'll tell you guys after about Dan with Fiji with his passport.
Yeah,
no,
that's true. Well, in my defense, that was damaged, not lost. But this, not only was this lost, but it was stolen from right next to me. So I'd been traveling as a fresh-faced 18-year-old. Some would say I looked a little bit like Corey Worthington. Blonde mohawk, blonde mullet, big glasses, the whole shebang-a-bang.
That's funny. And you used to dress like him too.
I did. So we were 3.5 weeks into a 9-week backpacking trip. So it started in the south of Italy. We had made our way up to Nice. And by that time, I realized that there was no way I was going to have enough money to make it through the rest of the trip. And €5 hostels, eating bags of pasta every day just to kind of get by.
We've all been there.
And so I made a call when we got to Barcelona that rather than staying with my friends and continuing on to Madrid, up the coast of France, etc., I was going to go work for some family friends in Spain to get some money. So I went to Spain, worked in their hotel, like in their kitchen, learned a bit of Spanish, like became friends with a guy that didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any Spanish. We just walk around the kitchen, like teaching each other what each item was in our own language.
Chocolate.
Yeah, delicioso. It was just awesome. Like it was so fun. But I knew that I had to meet back up with my friends in Brussels 10 days later. And from Brussels, then we're going to go Amsterdam over to Germany and finish up in Poland. So I was like, I'll take a little bit of a detour, catch up, build my money back up, and then go.
For our American listeners, Brussels is Belgium, by the way.
Correct. Yeah, great point. So Spain was brilliant. Left with a little bit of Spanish. Left with about €450. So I was like, you know what? Like that's actually, I reckon I could make that last the whole trip. But to get from the south of Spain to Brussels was a 32-hour journey. So I had to get a train from the south of Spain up to Pamplona, which is famous for the running of the bulls,
Oh wow.
like right up in the north of Spain. Got off the train. As I got off the train, I heard this announcement in Spanish, which I didn't understand, and then in English saying, "This is the final notice. Can everyone please get out of the station because we're closing for the night?" And my train wasn't coming for connecting train wasn't coming for another 5 hours. I was like, oh, man.
No way. And it didn't say this on the ticket or anything like that?
No. It was just like, you've got to lay over. So then I had like my big backpack on with all my worldly possessions. Found a place outside of the station and just parked up for 5 hours at 3 o'clock in the morning, waiting for this.
It was 3 a.m. I was about to ask that. Oh,
like
that's scary.
Yeah,
that's
I was
scary.
like, this is not great. So then got on the next train to Paris, where I had to change again. Got a little bit lost in Paris. Went to an internet cafe because I had to check my email. That was the only way you could check your email back in those days.
Hilarious. That's how long ago it was. That shows our age. Going to an internet cafe. Didn't have emails on your phone back then. Well, you were 18, so you probably didn't.
No. Yeah. Like didn't have Google Maps. No, nothing. Got to Paris. Emailed my friend, be like, "Hey, super excited to see you tonight in Brussels." Like, blah 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 blah. Didn't hear back from him, but I was like, "Oh, he must already be there." So then got on the third train of the trip. This is more than 24 hours after I'd started. Got into Brussels at about 7 o'clock at night. At this point, unfortunately, I was still smoking cigarettes. So I went outside the station, sat down, took my shoulder bag off, put my big backpack at my feet, lit a cigarette, and was just kind of like taking it in. And this guy, this like little kid, like would have been younger than me, he came up to me. He's like, "Is this MIDI? Is this MIDI train station?" And I was like, yeah. He's like, "No, is this MIDI? Is this MIDI train station?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, it is." And then this lady about 20 meters away just started screaming. She's like, "They just stole your bag. They just stole your bag."
Oh, no.
I looked to my left, looked to my right, and his friend had come up on the other side, grabbed my bag, and just sprinted away. So then I just like got up and like ran after them, but there was 5 of them. They like threw, like one of them threw my bag to their friend, and then they all just split. I was like, shit, it was all the money that I just earned in Spain because it was in there, except for a 50 euro note that I'd taken out to buy a bottle of Coke. So I had change. Like my grandma's rosary beads that like she'd given me, like my passport, like all the important things that you need that you put it, like back then you'd put in your travel bag so that it was on your person at all time.
I've got a quick question. Is this like one of those backpacking bags where you look like a turtle where it's top heavy when you go backpacking? So when you say, so you're 18 and now I know how heavy they are because obviously I've been backpacking. How fast can you run with that bag?
I left it on the ground. I just ran. Like I just like chased these kids into like the streets of Brussels. And I'm sure there's enough people like back at the train station to watch my bag that's not going to be stolen.
Got
Yeah.
you. Oh no. I thought you've seen it happen and you're running. I'm like, but how would you not able to catch them? Okay, that makes more sense. Fucking hell. Okay, go. I've got the vision now. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like chasing after these kids. They throw the bag amongst themselves and then split. And I was like, well, like that's gone. Like that's just all of it is just gone. So I went back, had to like go and report it to the police officer on station because like when your passport's stolen, in order for you to get a new passport, you need a police report to show like this is what's happened, blah 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 blah.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's good for the listeners.
Hot tip. So then I was like, okay, I'm in Brussels. I've got no cash. I've got no internet, so I don't know where my friend is. So I'm going to go back to the hostel that I stayed at the last time I was in Brussels 3 months before, a place called Van Gogh Hostels. I walk in. The manager behind the bar, he's like, Aussie, what are you doing back here? I was like, oh, wow. Okay, good to see you. So actually, I've had everything stolen. I've got no money. I can't pay for a night, but my friend will be here soon. Like, he'll kind of cover me. It's like, don't worry about it. We got like a spare bed in this main dorm. We'll put you in there. I was like, okay, cool. So then I went to check my email at like the computer that they had in the lobby.
Yes, the email that you sent to your friend before you
Yeah.
went. Yes. Can I ask one question? Sorry.
Yeah.
When you went to that hotel because you stayed there before, was that the hotel that I'm sorry, was that the same place your friend was staying at, or did you just
No.
pick that by chance because it's the only place you remembered?
Yeah, that's the only place I remembered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Good question. Check my email. He's responded to my email that I sent to him when I was in Paris. And he was like, hey, man, sounds like you're having a crazy journey. Just a reminder, like, we're meeting tomorrow, not today. I was like, oh, no. I'd just gone a day early in my entire trip. So the whole thing I could have avoided if I just I was so, am I allowed to swear?
Of course you can swear. There's no filter
man,
on this.
So pissed off. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But it was funny because they ended up putting me in a room. It was like a large dormitory kind of thing with like a 9-person bucks party from the UK. And they were so nice. They're like, dude, don't worry, we got you. Like, you got to come out with us tonight. This is going to be awesome. And it turned into like one of the great nights.
So you're like a chick going out with no money and had a free night where they're buying you drinks the whole night.
This is a very nice way to end a very crap day.
You didn't even have to put out.
Yeah, for sure. I went to bed. I went to bed pretty easily. And then the next day I went to the train station to meet my friend at the time that we'd originally discussed. And he's like, hey man, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I just showed him the police report. He was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that is awful.
Wait, so doesn't that work? When you said I could have stopped this from going a day early, doesn't that work in your favor because he wasn't there yet? So you knew to meet him at the bus stop when he arrived and stuff? Because if it was the same day, then you wouldn't have known where each other was because you didn't have any phones and stuff. So this is actually a blessing in disguise. But keep going.
True. That is true. The other way that it's a blessing in disguise, I think, is despite the Fiji debacle, I've never lost a passport since. I've never had anything stolen since. So I genuinely look back on it as one of those kind of experiences in life where it's like, you know what, like at the time it was pretty shit, but got through it, learned a lot, and you know, it's kind of helped me since to be just a better traveler. Because at the end of the day, like, it was totally my fault. You know what I mean? Like, A, shouldn't have been smoking. B, shouldn't have taken my shoulder bag off. C, shouldn't have let it out of my sight. Like, there's just like, there's just so many things.
But you say that you're only 18. Like, you know what? People do this at an older age and stuff. We've all been there. You're not expected to be robbed. You're on holidays. You shouldn't be putting your guard up 24/7 when you're traveling. You want to take the country in. To me, Belgium sounds like a safe place. I've been there.
Yeah, that's
like
beautiful.
Yeah, so you just don't expect it. Places like Paris and stuff, or Barcelona, you know, it's pickpocketed capitals of the world. So you do your research and you know that, and you put your money in your undies. But Belgium, I've never heard of that. So you didn't do anything wrong. You always say you try to change it. I've got questions now. When you lose your passport, so you've reported it to the police. What happens, and then how long does it take to get another one? And do you have to go to the Australian, what's it called? The Australian
embassy.
Embassy in Belgium?
Yeah. You do. And it was a really interesting process because, okay, at one point I was like, because I can't leave Belgium, right, until I have an Australian passport, even though you're in the EU. It's not like I could go up to the Netherlands without a passport, because at some point I'm going to have to get that passport back because I have to get from Europe to the UK. It's a shitload of bureaucracy. Okay, it was a really frustrating process because it was all paper based, right?
How long?
I went in and saw them the next day, and I think it came 4 days later. And we were meant to be in Brussels for 2 nights. So we ended up being there. Yeah, So like it kind of.
Does it cost heaps for? Oh, you probably don't remember. You're 18 then. I wouldn't even remember how much it cost. But my question is, you don't have any cards or money and stuff. So what did you do? Did you have to get your friend to give you money? I don't even think when you're 18 you could transfer money into someone's bank account. There
No,
was no
you
such
couldn't.
thing. So
we had to. He covered me. We did like a triangle of like he covered me. I think mum ended up sending him money to then give to me. And then I paid them back when I got to the UK.
Gotcha. Oh, your poor mum. She would have worried so much as well. I know
well,
your mother.
But she also jokes now that she got an email from me saying, "Hey, I'm fine. I'm safe. Don't worry. But I just wanted to let you know that this has happened." And it's just like,
Right.
but
You're only human. I won't go into my true tall tale because I don't think it's great for this podcast. But as you know, our friend that we share, Mikey, we arrived day one in Argentina, got there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and got robbed that night at 10 o'clock at night. So within 5 hours,
it's a pretty good hit rate.
Yeah, I had an Argentinian muscly man that looked like he had a perm hair with a fishnet shirt on bring me to the ATM while the bar held down our mate Mikey. And once again, I think I was 22, maybe Mikey was 19, and they made me take out $300 Australian for the ATM and pay them. And then once I paid them, they let Mikey go. So like I said, we've been robbed, been there.
Yeah.
It's innocent, man, at such a young age. So
totally. And you know, like it like I genuinely look at it as a positive. Like the like it's just living and traveling, right? Like no one really got hurt. They made an extra few €100 that night. Like, you know,
got some weirdo sniffing your undies, like.
But no, it was good. But
no, it's more the sentimental stuff when you said, you know, your grandmother's rosary beads and things like that. That's the things you can't replace. Money can always be replaced. Clothes can always be replaced. But it is, you're right. Passport, very annoying. And especially passport with like your stamps of where you've been. Like that stuff's important to me. Like, oh, I went here on that date. Like, I totally get it. It's so annoying. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
No. I just, it's, I think it's a good example of like you get to decide how you feel about an experience, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can look at that and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to me. Like life's so unfair. Or it's like, wow, I can't believe that happened to me, but you know.
Correct. Positives. You'll always be putting your bag on, whoever you're traveling with, going, clip your bag, don't not put it there, because it's true, right? You become, and I am that person. Yeah. Like I'm that person, like our friend Liam, like, no. Put your bag on, you'll get robbed. Like, and I'm like that because of my mom. And it's just been like, now I say thanks to mom, because when I was younger, I was like, God, so annoying. Like always like on my back about things, like relax. But now I'm, as an adult, I'm like, cool. I know why you say this now, because you're just making me very cautious and aware. And there's nothing wrong with being cautious and aware. For example, anyone that knows me, I'm the type of friend where if I'm at someone's house and I leave their house with my friend, I always say to them, have you got your house keys? And they look at me and go, yes, I do. And I'm like, well, I'm just saying, if you didn't, I'm just warning you. And I've been with people that go, oh my God, Sonny, I do not have my house keys. Thank you so much. Why are you saying that? I'm like, they're like, it's not your job. And I'm like, I feel like it is. If I have this relationship with you of being your friend, in my mind, I'll be your cautious friend. So I get it. And
I like that.
Yeah, it's good to be like that. So,
checking that the door's locked on your way out.
Correct. And I also check, even if I haven't been cooking, if all the stoves are off.
Always.
You know my new thing as well that I do? I actually, I only live in a studio in the city, so it's a bit easier, but I actually turn off all the PowerPoints because for some reason, I'm scared that like if a PowerPoint's turned on, then it can still give electricity to like my computer or my lamp, and it might just turn on and start a fire.
I mean, you got to look after yourself, right?
Speaking of that, here's a little quick true tall tale for you. You don't know this story, actually. This happened recently. So I was out in Newtown, which is in Sydney, maybe like 3 months ago, and I was out with some of my American friends, and they had some gummy bears from LA, which is legal there. If anyone doesn't know, it's like a gummy bear that has like weed oil in it. They gave me one, and I was a bit high from it, and had a great night. This is a school night, by the way, so it's like a Wednesday night. Anyway, so I left my friends from America, and as you know, I just told you, I'm a person who turns off like my switches and stuff because I'm scared of house fires. I've never been in one. I'm a cautious person. I'm walking home, and as I'm walking home, I see a fire engine on my street, and I was just like, "Ooh, what's going on here?" Like, a bit of gossip. Like, what's going on? Something's going down. As I got closer, I never leave my balcony lights on. I saw my balcony lights on, 2 fire engines at the front of my place, of my apartment building. Oh my God, Dan, the gummy bears kicked in. My heart, like a Tuesday night. And I was like, no, there's a fire engine guy at the front of my house. And I was like, excuse me, sir, what's going on? He's like, sir, you've got to step away. He wasn't American. I don't know. Sounds more dramatic. He's like, sir, you've got to step away. And I was like, no, that's my apartment. Like, what's going on? He's like, that's your apartment? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, and he radios, and he's like, the owner's here. He's like, I'll take you up. And my heart's beating. As we get up, we walk up the stairs, we get closer to my place. First thing I see, my front door is axed down, like
no
wood everywhere and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. I walk in, there's 3 firefighters in my place. And as you know, you can't wear shoes in my place. They've all got their shoes on.
No.
They're all like standing around. They're really big and muscly and tall. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on? Like, sir, this is your place. And like your smoke alarm's been going off. And I was like, yes. It does that. I told my real estate a year ago, it keeps going off. They haven't replaced it, but is there a fire? They said, no, there's no fire. And I was like, do you guys just axe people's doors down if there's a fire? And they're like, well, we think there's a fire. I'm like, but is there no like smoke detector or a camera you put underneath and then you realize it's not a fire? And they're like, no, we don't have that. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, mind you, because I'm on the gummy bear. And I was like, mind you, I'm so sorry. I should first of all say thank you so much just in case there was a fire, and thank you for saving my place. I just didn't know that was the process, that you just axe down a door. They're like, yeah. And anyway, I had to sign all this paperwork. They're like, you're going to have to call your real estate tomorrow to get your door replaced. I'm like, well, clearly. And then they leave, and I'm like high on a gummy bear with no door that's axed down, shoes all over the place. I'm sweeping everything, cleaning the floor. I vacuum, I mop, I feel itchy.
Wow.
I have a shower, and then I go to bed, and I can't even go to bed because I have no door. So anyone in my apartment building just walk past and see me sleeping. I felt so vulnerable. And I was like, I got the computer chair and put it to my front door, and then built, when you play Cubby House with your brother and young, I put like a sheet over it. So if I heard the computer chair move, I kept waking up going, who's there? Like that. And I couldn't sleep. So I had to take a sickie the next day, call work, had to get the door replaced. Oh, for someone who's so cautious about a fire, I just did not know that they axed your door down. But thank you, firefighters.
Yeah.
You have a very hard job and you save people's lives, so I do appreciate it.
Oh, totally. And in a situation like that, like with an apartment building, they're not going to take a risk.
Well, to be fair, I did learn, an email went around from the real estate saying if you do hear someone's smoke alarm going off, obviously if you see fire, you hear smoke, call the 000. That's the first thing you do. But if you don't see that or smell smoke or anything, and it's just a smoke alarm going off, you should call the real estate straight away, because then they will call the person that owns the place or is renting the place, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I've got my keys, I'm nearly home or something, which stops your door being from axed down. That is the process.
Interesting.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. You're going to Denver this year, right?
It actually isn't Denver. Sorry, I got it mixed up. Oh no, is Denver and Colorado the same thing? Yeah. Okay.
So like,
yeah.
Denver's in Colorado.
I had my friend Reese and Natalie's wedding, so yeah.
When was the last time you were at altitude?
Does altitude mean like really high up in the air?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I would say when I was in Canada and I went skiing. Is that altitude or no?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember having a drink and I got drunk straight away. I think my nose bled as well. But that was what, 4 or 5 years ago?
So, because we went to Denver a few months ago, and the first couple of days, I was really whacked around. Like, it kind of felt like walking in soup, because similar to you, I've pretty much only lived at sea level my whole life. So like our bodies just aren't used to it, right?
Yes.
Did I ever tell you about the time I tried to propose to Jackie at altitude?
No, this is your next true told tale. Love this. Told you guys, he's such a good guest. We've just got tales coming out, and it's just happened so naturally. Like, look at him. He's got the mic in his hand. He's sitting there, and he's like, ah. Anyway, no, Jackie is Dan's wife, everyone. She is American, and she's also one of my good friends, and she's just the most beautiful person. And I actually don't know how you proposed to her, so this is good for me and the listeners. Take away, Dan the man.
Well, this wasn't a successful proposal.
So you denied it?
No, I didn't get a chance to ask it.
All right.
So we were on top of the volcano on Maui. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is going to be beautiful. It's like hardly anyone around. Like I can, like, what a vista to propose and for her to say yes at. And so she's like looking out over the crater. And I got down on one knee to propose. And as she turned around, I got altitude sickness and fell over. She's like, wait, what are you doing? I was like, oh, nothing, just not feeling too well.
You're serious? I did not know that. So you got on one knee. She probably thought you're feeling sick, so you got on one knee. And when you got on one knee, did you like kind of get wobbly and felt sick? You're like, oh my God. She's like, Dan, what are you doing? That's how she sounds. So, Dan, what are you doing? Yeah. And what did you say? I just feel sick, and then you just hit it all.
Yeah, and then I just aborted.
Was it like vomit sick? Was it like dizzy sick?
It was just like super dizzy, struggling to breathe sick. Just not a good combination to be asking someone to marry you.
Right. Okay. So what happened next? When did you do it? When did you propose correctly, or in a way where you weren't getting altitude?
A few months later in San Francisco. We'll by the water, so I knew that altitude sickness wasn't going to be a problem.
Ah, when you say in San Francisco, like by the water near the Golden Gate Bridge?
Yeah. We just been to Alcatraz, and I was thinking of doing it on Alcatraz, but I thought that wouldn't send a good message for the rest of our marriage.
Dan. Hilarious. You don't want to propose at a jail? Like, what were you thinking? That's like the most unromantic thing ever. That's hilarious. You know what? Knowing Jackie, you're like, Dan, you did not just propose to me at a jail right now.
But no, it was lovely. Golden Gate Bridge in the background.
And you got on one knee and it was in the background. She cried. Oh, so sweet. Oh, I love it. You guys are great together. It's funny you say that because I want to go to San Fran because I started watching a show 4 weeks ago that's now on Netflix. There's 8 seasons. And for some reason, in that moment in my life in the 2000s, I don't know how come I never watched this show, but probably because I was clubbing with you. So, and I probably didn't watch TV back then, but there's this show called Monk.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. The detective.
He's a detective, and he's in San Fran, so that's what I thought of San Fran. It reminds me of me. Like, he's got a lot of, like, OCDs. He's a clean freak. He always wipes his hands with, like a wet one when he shakes someone's hand. I was like, oh, my God, there's so many things he does that I do. Like, taps people's shoulders 4 times because it's in an even number. And I was like, do I have this disease that he has? Like, what is that? Like, it's so crazy. But it made me feel ease and make me feel normal, which goes with my ADHD as well. So maybe I have OCDs as well and whatever.
Potentially. I always remember people speaking very favorably about that show. And then the actor who did that ended up being the dad in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that. Do you know what? Thank you, because that's one of my favorite shows on Prime Video, right? I've already finished it. It's amazing. It's won so many awards.
Yeah.
When I say underrated, I know the show's big because it's won a lot of Emmys and stuff. But I've mentioned this show to people, and they're like, "No, I've never heard of that." I'm like, you need to watch it. The writing's amazing. All the characters, the main lady in it. Oh, dude, it's just
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. The comedy in it, the characters. It is literally one of my favorite shows. And when I started watching Monk, because it's so long ago, I'm like, is he the dad from the show? It's him. It's him, because obviously he's aged, right? And it's him.
Yeah.
Like, I even love his wife on that show as well in the Miss Marvelous. Oh, what a great show. Did Jackie love that as well?
Loved it.
Oh,
absolutely loved it. And particularly because she's like used to live in New York. So I think it starts in the 50s in New York. And yeah, for those who haven't watched it, it's about like the first female comic to come up through the New York comedy scene. Yeah, amazing.
But also goes through a lot as well through like being a woman, going into work, you know, divorced, like back in those times as well where you rely on the husband, that he's the breadwinner. Just like a lot of layers in the show, which is just so different, which is not even that long ago, the 50s to what are we now, 2024, how much times has changed. It's just a really, really good watch. I highly recommend it. It's beautifully, everything's just, I would just give it a 10 out of 10, really.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm glad I thought that might be up your alley. I'm glad you like that. Yeah.
I've got really good taste in shows, and I also have really bad taste in shows. My bad taste in shows is just like when I need a brain fart, I'm tired, I'm about to go to bed, and I watch some reality TV or bad shows, and I was like, why would you watch that show? And I'm like, I just don't want to think, and I just need to like visually just see something. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna watch Game of Thrones before I go to bed at 3:00 in the morning. Like, you know? Yeah, it's gonna keep me awake.
So the only reality TV show that I really commit to, and you know this, is
Housewives of New York. No, I'm just checking.
Yeah, no, Miami. The Amazing Race.
Oh,
I just feel like that is just perfect television.
Great show. Great show. Oh, yeah. That's just in any country, the Australian one, the America. Dan, you should really watch Survivor. Jackie's probably bred this into you. It's very up your alley. No. It's the longest reality TV show of all time. And there's just so many, and there's a reason why it's still going in America and stuff. You need to, I don't know, like if you actually just watch one season, then you'll be addicted because it's not even about, you know, if you and I went on the show, we're not the toughest guys and stuff, but it's like, are you the person that's good at manipulating? Or Dan, you're a person that gets along with everyone at a party, so that's going to be in your favor, and you're like the nice guy like me. Do you know what I mean? So there's so many layers to it. It's great. It's really, really great. You just don't know who's going to win, who's turning on people.
It's funny you say that because The Amazing Race in different seasons have had like the best of kind of thing. And they had one season where it was a couple who had previously won Survivor individually came on to The Amazing Race as a team and brought like Survivor tactics to The Amazing Race, which was pretty epic. Yeah.
Was this the American or the Australian one?
American. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think the American one's up to season 36 or something.
Oh yeah. It's been on. It's you know what's funny? It's so many, like it's my brother's favorite show. It's his wife's favorite. Like it's such a big following. Yeah. Like they just will never get sick of it, and it just doesn't get old for some reason. Like you watch another season and it doesn't outdate. It's crazy. Like I think you'd be good because you're quite intelligent with those puzzles and those games. That's where you would be good. You know, like I'm not very good with puzzles and stuff, but I'd be good in the social aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think that what's fascinating about, like, we started watching it during COVID when you couldn't travel. So for us, it was this kind of like escape mechanism, like when we were locked down in the States to, just like, you know, see what was going on in the world, 15, 20 years before. And then it gives you a good list of places that you want to go to as well.
Very true. What about the earthquake the earthquake that happened in New York? Is that normal? Because I know you and your wife lived in New York.
We did.
So is that normal? Because I could imagine if they started getting earthquakes, there's so many old buildings, high rises, they're all just going to come tumbling down. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess it's not normal, if that makes sense. Like it's not like a San Andreas fault earthquake in California kind of thing where it's like that could really cause a lot of issues.
Surprised you used that movie as a reference. That movie sounds horrible. The fact
but like there's like an actual thing called the San Andreas fault that is.
There you go.
Like,
see, that's me trying to. That's him being smart, guys. See, that was me being dumb. That I thought it was the movie with The Rock, and I was like, "Damn, that's not up your alley. You're my intelligent friend." And then he really did have the intelligent bit of it that I didn't know that's what it's called. There's a perfect example that happened live on air.
So the earthquake on the East Coast that happened in New Jersey, I think it was like a 4.4, which is very rarely going to cause too much damage. I don't think there was much damage from it at all, actually. Yeah, so I don't think that's something that's going to get worse.
Interesting.
Fingers crossed.
Good. Fingers crossed. Thank God we live in Australia. We don't really get earthquakes here. Not in our.
No, we haven't had one for. Well, like I think Melbourne gets a couple, and then
yeah, but
Newcastle,
they're not like proper earthquakes. Newcastle had one years ago.
Yeah,
many
80,
years ago.
89, I think.
Yeah. There's no high rises there. Newcastle's fine.
Beautiful city. Have you been there recently?
Oh, I love Newcastle. Yeah, Grace's parents live up there, Lake Macquarie. So
nice.
Yeah, very nice. Newcastle's good. I think it's very underrated, and it's only 2 hours from Sydney. And it's just people, people shit in Newcastle, and I like the people that live there. Newey, I'm from Queensland. It reminds me of Queenslanders. Love Newey. So we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you, Dan, for coming on True Tall Tales and sharing your True Tall Tales. I think you would have helped a lot of listeners out there about traveling. People can relate to your story, and also just sharing a story that's happened to you in life, because this is what the show's about. Everyone's got their tall tales of something that's happened in their lives that they can relate to, or just be like, wow, or you gave them a laugh as well, because you did share many. But the good thing about this show is you are more than welcome to come on this show anytime you like, because you're like me. I would love to have you back as a guest, because you've been one of my favorite interviews. It was such a good flow, and it was just like hanging out with you in real life. Thank you so much for coming on. That was really, really fun.
Thanks for having me. Been an absolute blast, and you're doing great.
Oh, likewise. Say hello to the wifey for me. You've probably noticed I haven't said her name just to keep her privacy. Not that she's famous or anything, anyone. Or is she? Is she? Who is she? From America. Anyway, thank you. Guys, please reach out if you have a great story that you want to share, or you know of someone that has a story. Reach out to me on any of my socials, or send an email to truetalktalespodcast@gmail.com with your story, and I will get you on the show. My name is Sunny Boy. His name is Dan the Man, and you're listening to True Tall Tales. I'm out. Bye.